Be they the bane of the bushes or the symbol of sitcom success, The Simpsons is the longest-running animated sitcom on air. What originated as a short on the Tracy Ullman Show has ingrained itself into the very fabric of culture itself. With 33 years of cultural critique under their belts, the writers and animators have hidden their fair share of references and gags in plain sight. And for the more risque subject matters, a level of plausible deniability is required. While we will try to keep things PG enough for Maggie, if you are too young to watch Itchy and Scratchy, you may want to skip this one. Starting off rather tame, in Lisa's Substitute, we are introduced to the one-off character Mr. Bergstrom, an amazing teacher with an aptitude for academic performance. Midway through the episode, while we follow Lisa's descent into admiration, we peer into the private lives of Springfield Elementary's teachers. Miss Krabappel sitting on a desk, flirting with the new substitute, but the lessons she wants to be taught are far less than school-friendly. Her dress revealing the sultry teacher's legs and the blatant reference to The Graduate would make even Reverend Lovejoy hot under the collar. And before we move on, Dustin Hoffman went by a pseudonym in this episode, despite reciting arguably his most famous line almost word for word. Sideshow Bob's first victim was his longtime partner, Krusty the Clown. And if he had it his way, he'd take Bart out as well. In Season 3, Episode 21, his target is that of Aunt Selma. Now, murderous plots aside, did you happen to hear that joke that Krusty was saying? The joke should go like this.
Hey, this guy walks into a bar and takes out a tiny piano and a 12-inch pianist.
Krusty stops himself right there, proclaiming that he just can't tell that joke. If you didn't get the picture, he would have gone on to tell a story of magic genies and misheard wishes. A classic dirty joke to share amongst your friends, but maybe not one for the general audience. But who needs a 12-inch pianist anyway, you know? Book clubs all over would be jumping for joy over this next one. What better hiding spot for toxic stoic ideas than the walls of a preschool? In Season 4, Episode 2, we are introduced to Ayn Rand's School for Tots, a horrible place where imagination is useless and help is futile. If you haven't guessed, this entire place is a joke on Ayn Rand and her philosophy of objectivism, which for the shorthand can be described as a moral stoicism that rejects determinism. For these jokes, it specifically finds the idea of imagination and subjective thought as inherently useless without the grounding of cognition. So the letter A, for example, is the letter A and nothing else. Where to begin? This episode is the raunchiest yet seen on television. Who could forget Marge's opening innuendo of "It's cold outside," or Bart's outrageous retort of "typewriter with a handgun"? Season 4, Episode 3 is filled to the brim with green meadows. If you haven't guessed, that's complete nonsense. Not to suggest that children don't like the surreal. The popularity of the steamed hams meme is nothing but an example of the surreal, but it takes a keen eye to understand a surreal reference in the background of all things. Well, in Season 4, Episode 3, we get just that. No, soap radio. A joke that's funny because there is no connection to the punchline. The listener is either in on the joke or they are not, but you cannot be an outsider and understand. Homer's shower radio is a cheeky nod to these practical jokes. A blink and you'll miss it, surreal comedy. I Love Lisa is the 15th episode of the 4th season. In it, Lisa has to deal with the ongoing affections from Ralph Wiggum. A lesson that, we should all learn, but that's not what we're here for today. No, we are here for Bart's remarks to his sister. When invited to Krusty's show, Lisa is hesitant because she obviously does not like Ralph romantically. Bart offers to take her place and will go to many lengths to keep the jig up. How far? In his own words, we do not want to know. From kissing to more, this is quite the promise, given that Bart has his own rocky relationship with Ralph. In the very next episode, we have the Duffless, in which Lisa tries to prove that Bart is dumber than a hamster. A rather innocent premise for a B story, but like many details in the beloved show, there lies a more adult reference under the surface. Lisa uses cupcakes to shock Bart. Despite the negative stimuli, he will still attempt to grab them, in a way disproving Pavlov, but the scene is eerily similar to the one in Clockwork Orange. You know the one, where Alex reaches for a pair of cupcakes himself? Be you a frog or a mouse, food and sex are supposed to feel good, yet neither Bart nor Alex can enjoy them. Do we have any Danny DeVito fans in the audience? Of course, I'm joking. It would be near sacrilegious not to cherish this larger-than-life figure. Well, Season 4, Episode 18 gives us an homage to that hit movie One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. See, when Homer refuses the duff, Barney smothers him with a pillow, then escapes through the glass window. Almost shot for shot, ripped from the ending of the aforementioned movie. Jack Nicholson is left almost brain dead after a horrific lobotomy and is smothered to death by, you guessed it, a pillow. An extremely dark and adult subject for such a seemingly innocent throwaway gag. Marge in Chains is the Simpsons answer to court dramas. During Apu's cross-examination, he says he doesn't forget anything, and that the 4,000 digit of pi is a 1. This joke flies right over us unless you're more mathematically inclined. Especially because for such a small line, the writers had to contact NASA themselves to make sure that, well, the joke was accurate. See, there was no encyclopedia for the digits of pi yet, and measuring the number is notoriously difficult. And I think that just enhances the humor of the joke. The idea that it took real time and effort to pass accurate information in what really was a throwaway line is kind of mind-blowing. Plus, it will go over even the quickest mathematician's head at first viewing. This next one is sewn all over culture, from Rocky Horror to Do the Right Thing. In Cape Fear, Sideshow Bob has the words Luv and Hat on the knuckles of his fingers, a play on the popular Luv and Hate. But due to the main cast only having 4 fingers, the writer had to get creative. And I can hear you asking, well, how is this an adult joke? Well, this tattoo dates all the way back to 1955. The movie The Night of the Hunter stars a not-so-loving priest with an intense hatred for the widowers that he seduces. In said film, Harry Powell, the preacher, uses the tattoos to illustrate the struggles between good and evil. If you haven't seen this thriller, oh yeah, I highly suggest it. Highbrow comedy aside, let's get higher on the list, huh? Season 8, Episode 6 introduced us to the Stoner's Pot Palace, a pottery lover's haven. Otto, the bus driver, however, was hoping for a more botanical take on the word's double meaning. This fan-favorite shop even found itself in The Simpsons Tapped Out. This isn't the last mistaken drugstore either, as the same joke is pulled on poor Otto in Season 23 with the needle exchange. A great place to get all the sewing equipment you may need, but don't feel too bad for the lovable bus driver with the legalization of certain substances and the tolerance for those enthusiasts being more common. Oh, right! You know, he may soon find what he's looking for. A whole entire episode is dedicated to a premise taken from a very not-so-family-friendly movie, Pulp Fiction. 22 short films about Springfield have vignettes from the various residents of the beloved town, one of which is now the famous steamed hams. But scenes in the Krusty Burger and Wiggum gagged and tied to a chair are all inspired from a much more gruesome one in Pulp Fiction. But this is far from the last time the cast and crew poke a little fun at the cult classic, as in 2013 they have an episode entitled Pulpit Friction, an obvious play on the title as well as the plot of the episode. So if you checked out at the last math reference, you may want to get some coffee for this next one. The season is number 10, it's the second episode, and in it, The Simpsons seemingly disproved a long-lasting belief that x to the nth power plus y to the nth power equals z to the nth power was unsolvable. Known as Fermat's last theorem, it postulates that there is no combination of whole 4-digit numbers one can substitute for x, y, and z that will balance the equation, so long as n is greater than 2. However, if you look at the math on the blackboard of equations, you'll see 3987 to the 12th power plus 4665 to the 12th power equals 4472 to the 12th power, and it works. Sort of. See, the left side is actually Adam's whisper smaller than the right. See, close but no cigar. Earth, air, water, fire. The four elements lived in harmony on a poster in a hidden room in Springfield Elementary. Fans of the Avatar show rejoice in the celebration of its main theme. The 21st episode of the 22nd season gives us a little taste of the love Avatar has gained behind the scenes. So that leaves us with so much left untouched. With over 30 years of award-winning entertainment to sift through, you can't expect to catch them all. Every episode is so jam-packed with adult humor and obscure references that it would take a lifetime to document and explain each one. We are going to keep trying though. See ya!